Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is the ninth Wizarding World movie and the first Fantastic Beasts film. The series of semi-Harry Potter saga prequels, but not really. It sets place back in the past of the Wizarding World. It's just not a direct follow-up to Harry Potter in the form of a prequel. Have I explained that right? I remember back in 2016, back then, this might have been just as overly hyped as Deathly Hallows Part 2 was. It wasn't the finale of a series, it was the return of a much beloved one. And I remember when it came out, everyone was like, yeah, it was really good. Back when I saw it back in 2016, I was like, yeah, still really good. And now, rewatching it all these years later, I can once again safely say, yeah, pretty good. So we start this new saga off with one of my least favorite types of exposition dumping, newsposition. Newspapers illustrating to the audience that the European dark wizard known as Gellert Grindelwald has gone into hiding. We then cut to New York, where our main character of this new series, Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne, arrives and wanders around this new setting for both him and this franchise. Near the bank, he bumps into Jacob Kowalski, played by Sam Redford, looking to open his own bakery. After a bit of magical hijinks, the two part ways, accidentally swapping briefcases. After Newt has officially made his wizardry known to this new muggle, or no-mage as they call it in America, he is then introduced to Tina the Oar, played by Catherine Waterston, who takes him into custody, and we are then introduced to Makusa. And this begins one of my favorite things that the Fantastic Beasts franchise promised us. A new expanded look at not just the Wizarding World of Europe, but the Wizarding World as a whole, and this movie centering around the US. And how we see all the similarities with the European Wizarding World, but we also see a lot of their differences, like just the language that they use, or the fact that what they go to for their education isn't Hogwarts, but a school called Ilvermorny, which is no longer available on wizardingworld.com for reasons. But the point is, I love seeing this new look at the US Wizarding World, and I would love to see a modern version of it instead of a 1920s version like we see here. Intercut with Newt and Tina realizing that the two men's briefcases have been swapped, we not only see Kowalski accidentally release a whole slew of magical creatures that Newt was keeping safe in his magical briefcase, but we're also introduced to the Second Salemers, a group of orphans aware of the Wizarding World and want nothing more than wizards and witches to burn and for the general public to acknowledge them. And acknowledge them they do after a mysterious magical parasite made of black smoke known as an Obscurus attacks the senator in front of his party, including his father, played by John Voight, who just so happens to run the newspaper. Even though I will admit at face value this whole subplot is interesting, when intercut with the more lighthearted nature of Newt and Jacob's antics, it just seems very dark and just overly serious and wholly not fun, especially when compared to the other Fantastic Beast-related material. It's just a massive tone shift constantly throughout the movie, and it's really jarring. So, with a great many Fantastic Beasts loose in New York, Newt, Jacob, Tina, and her sister Queenie, a mind reader played by Alison Sudol, must set out to retrieve these beasts so that they don't cause even more trouble with the no-mage community. And after a while of them chasing quirky, lovable creature after quirky, lovable creature, they do eventually accomplish this task. And although I love all of the creatures that they encounter, I mean, the Niffler is my spirit animal, most of the effects used on both the creatures and just everything in general in this movie doesn't really hold up. I mean, this movie is only 6 years old and the uncanny valley is just everywhere. I mean, compare these effects to the effects used in Deathly Hallows Part 1, especially with Dobby. He actually did look like he was in Harry's arms as he was bleeding and dying, and I made myself sad again. During all this commotion, an Auror called Percival Graves, played by Colin Farrell, is seen constantly questioning one of the boys from the Second Salemers, Credence, played by Ezra Miller. Why? Because Graves had a vision that one of the second Salemer children was the Obscurus and promised Credence protection and a good life once the child was found. However, once it looks like it was Credence's sister who was the Obscurial, Graves disowns Credence in favor of his sister, when it turns out it was actually Credence who was the Obscurial the whole time, and now plans to go berserk on the entire city. If you think I'm jumping around when it comes to the plot of this movie, that's only because the movie itself constantly jumps around from subplot to subplot too. We constantly focus on too many characters, too many subplots, and too many tones for us to really get invested in just one of them. And although I like all of these characters and I'm interested in all of these subplots, it's just not cohesive enough to really be enjoyed as an entire whole, as I'm sure the writer and director intended it. So the climax commences with Tina, Newt, and Graves trying to calm the boy down while the latter two fight Graves over quote-unquote control over the boy. While all this is happening, we also see the magical community trying and failing to contain this battle from the no-mage community, resulting in every Auror of the American magical government opening fire on the Obscurus, seemingly killing Credence. America! After disowning the government and being disarmed of his wand, it's revealed that Graves was Grindelwald the whole time, disguising himself as a high-ranking official to attain the Obscurus for his ranks. What a twist! That, to be fair, was kind of foreshadowed pretty well. So with Grindelwald in custody, how does the American Magical Department cover all of this up from the no-mage community? J.K. Rowling's favorite thing, Deus Ex Machina. By combining two of Newt's magical creatures, the venom of a swooping evil which contains memory loss properties, and a Thunderbird which has the power to make storms occur at will, Newt and the Thunderbird make it rain mind-wiping water across the entire city. And when the damage is cleared, Newt, Tina, and Queenie must also say goodbye to Jacob, who steps out into the rain, forgetting all the wondrous things he's seen over the past 24 hours. You think you can cover up this disappointing Deus Ex Machina with the tears from my sadness? Little bit. So after anonymously lending money for Jacob to open his bakery, Newt and Tina part ways, with Newt returning to the UK, while also sporting a Hufflepuff scarf. So the main character of this new series is a Hufflepuff? Franchise ruined. So that was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. A flawed movie for sure, a flawed start to a franchise for sure. And I love it just as much as I love Sorcerer's Stone. Most of the effects aren't very convincing, the story has a hard time balancing its multiple subplots, and thus it leads to a lot of clashing tones. But with that said, I love all of these new characters. The imagination put into both the creatures and this new corner of the wizarding world is brilliant. The movie's nicely paced with a good musical score, and, for the most part, a great deal of heart, fun, and color. With the Harry Potter saga leaving us on a good but dark ending, this is a great reintroduction that makes us all realize once again why we fell in love with the wizarding world to begin with, and thus is a great start for this new franchise. I'm going to give Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them an A-. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, what's your favorite Fantastic Beasts from any point in the wizarding world? From the Harry Potter saga, from the Fantastic Beasts saga, what's your favorite magical creature from this world? For me, I have to go with the Hippogriff. I love me the Niffler, don't get me wrong, but Buckbeak. I love Buckbeak. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.